Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid Episode 4, and it has continued to be good, which I am very happy for. In fact, I just want to comment on how much I'm enjoying it. I mean, not just because I'm enjoying it, but it kind of like lifts my mood. Like, today when I watched the episodes, I wasn't in a bad mood or anything. I was pretty normal. But, you know, I watched Joja first, because you don't want to watch the worst thing last, to leave it on a sad note. But like Joja I watched, and it was pretty paint by the numbers stuff this week, and I was like, that was Toku, you know, it's Toku, and I was like, whatever. And then Ex-Aid happened, and I was like, that's exactly what it was like. It's like, I was so happy after that, and more like excited to film the videos, to talk about it, and it was just kind of, it's a breath of fresh air. I mean, granted, there are some sort of nitpicks I have, which I'll get to in a second, but I just want to comment on, it's nice to watch superhero time, and actually have a lift-up moment. Because when Joja and Ghost was on, it was pretty much a flat line. It was like, beep! And this week it was like, beep! And then it went beep again, because I watched Digimon Universe, and they did Halloween better than most Toku. But anyway, so, just to start with the nitpicks first. My only nitpicks come from, we did get a little bit, like a smidge more backstory on the Bugster virus incident, which was nice, but it's not really necessarily a nitpick of this episode overall. I just want to bring up that I'm still cautious about this being a little bit too samey to the like blueprint laid out of insert generic event that happened years ago here. So I'm just cautious of that. I think it's gonna be, or I'm hoping and thinking it's going to be, if that makes any sense, it's gonna be a mixture of sort of this traditional layout we've been getting of this, but maybe add a little bit of twist to it, which would be nice. We did find out that it started because they created the 10 games, and that caused the Bugster virus, which kind of remind me a bit of the Digimon Tamers backstory, but so that's a little bit difference there, which is kind of neat. I mean, it was still an event caused by something, but it kind of added a unique flair, which I guess is where it's coming in, that I'm hoping that we'll have enough of a uniqueness where this part of the story doesn't feel like a retread. And that's my only real retread worry. My other nitpicks this week come in the form of just character decisions again, which I thought were silly. They're pretty minor stuff overall, but mainly there was, in one of the early fights, when they were first facing off against the Bugster, all of a sudden, again, when Snipe was about to chase after the Bugster, Brave just stops him to fight him because he doesn't want him to have a driver. And it's like, I get that Snipe's a bit of an antagonist, and he had just taken Ex-Aid's memory, Gashat, sorry, but it's like the wrong time. It's kind of like last week when Snipe could have taken out the Bugster, but Ex-Aid stopped him because it was scaring the kid, and he could have removed the kid, and then they might have defeated the Bugster quicker. Granted, the episode wouldn't have happened then, so we would have had a shorter episode, but just logic-wise, it's the same thing here. Snipe may be doing bad stuff or annoying stuff to our characters, but in the moment, he wasn't doing anything really bad. He was going after the Bugster, which was a good. It was a common goal, so Brave stopping him seemed stupid and seemed honestly just like an excuse to get more riders on screen fighting, so that bothered me. And then like right after that, when Lazer wanted Ex-Aid to join him to chase after the Bugster, he was like, oh no, the patient comes first, and then they grab the patient and take him off to a bed. Now, why do I think that's a bad thing? Because the patient is infected with the Bugster virus, so chasing after the Bugster to go after him and destroy him would have helped the patient more in the long run, and instead you could have just had the girl whose name I don't know yet, is like Peepoo Papu or whatever. I don't remember her like name when she's normal, but her and somebody else could have gotten the dude to a bed, and Ex-Aid could have chased after him, being proactive. And I know that that other Bugster had his sister, but it wasn't the same Bugster they were chasing after. So Ex-Aid could have gone after the Bugster that was infecting him, taken him out, then gone back to the patient, found out his sister was kidnapped, and gone for the other Bugster. It'd be a different story if it was the same one. Like, there's definitely some allowance there because of the logic of the kidnapping that you could argue against me for that, but it bothered me in the moment that picking him off the ground was more important than attacking what's a much larger problem. It was like treating a symptom, it's not even a symptom, instead of treating the disease. It just seemed kind of stupid, to be honest. That's my only point. But those are on, despite how long I went on about that, those are just minor nitpicks, because overall, I thought this was another really strong episode, and in some ways I thought one of the strongest. We got the debut of Lazer, as I sort of glossed over while I was mini ranting, which is a really unique setup, because he has, on multiple levels, both for the character and the writer, for the writer portion of it, he has a level 1 little chibi form, but his level 2 is a bike, which is interesting. I mean, we've had riders like Axel that have actually turned into a bike before, but this is like not even just like humanoid bike hybrid. This is like bike. So I think that's really interesting for a setup just for the writer, the character, and that they used a racing bike game for it was cool. It added yet another fight style variation, both like in the level 1s and then later when he got on the bike and actually raced. I think that was fantastic. I love that. I believe, like, when he gets to the next level, he'll actually have a human form, if I remember from scans or news or whatever. I could be wrong or forgetting it, but I assume so, regardless of any scans. But regardless, again, saying the word regardless, that was a cool setup. I like that. I think it makes it unique and adds a little bit something different, specifically also with the gameplay style. And also for the character himself, he isn't a doctor. I mean, not like a medical doctor. He's like an ME. He's a medical examiner who finds out the cause of death of things, which is a bit interesting setup. And, okay, so I suppose in another way this leads to a slightly minor nitpick, but his main drive at the beginning of the episode is he actually brings our patient of the week who's sick, and they're like, well, why do you want to get involved? And he says years ago he found out about the bugster virus and asked for a driver and said that he wants to stop the bugsters because another friend of his died. But then at the end of the episode, after they defeat him, he's like, no, I was kidding about that first friend that died. I really just want to investigate what the bugsters are about. And like, he goes to the defeated bugster to collect a sample. And then Ex-Aid's like, oh my god, how dare you, unforgivable. He doesn't say that, but I just kind of inferred because they say that a lot. But, okay, it was bad that he lied, but we have limited information. Maybe next week Lazer ends up to be more nefarious or something, but I don't think so. But it's not like he lied and said, I was just kidding, I want to get this bugster DNA so I can turn into a bugster and then rule over humanity. He basically just said, I lied about having this other motivation because I'm an ME and I'm curious about what makes things tick, and I want to know what makes the bugsters tick. I don't see that really as a bad thing. Like I said, the lying thing, yeah, it's like, oh man, you lied to me, that's not cool. But he acted as if he had a nefarious purpose, whereas right now it just seems to actually be what could actually be kind of a helpful purpose, to study the bugsters. And so that was kind of an overreaction on Ex-Aid's part, but also for Lazer's part, did he really need to lie? Like, he did have a friend, unless I was misinterpreting that guy wasn't really his friend or something, but he did have a friend that was sick. So, and I don't know why he needed the extra layer of, I had another friend that also died of the bugster virus. And, like, why didn't he just come out and say, hey look, here's my friend that's sick, I'm a medical examiner, I want to know what makes the bugsters tick, will you work with me on this? I think that if he would have come up to him straight with that, that could have been fine and would have got him through. Like, what would have happened if you had not lied? Or like, this is, oh, I like totally mixed up my sentence there. Like, it just seems weird that the situation of playing out of him being like, hey, I have this friend that's sick, will you help me? And Ex-Aid's like, I don't know, man, that's just, it's not tragic enough, yo. And then he's like, what if I told you I had another friend that also died of the sickness? Oh man, that story's way more toku sad now, I'll help you. It just seemed like stupid thinking on both parts. But regardless of that, I like that both Lazer's powers are unique. His character setup's unique, both from not being a doctor in the traditional sense and also for his motivations to be different. He's obviously going to have to come to some sort of understanding with Ex-Aid because that's his bike. So he's going to need to use it more than once. Probably at least just one more time. That's what Ghost did. I think he wrote it twice. But so, yeah. And then at the very end, as I mentioned, he tried to examine him. And when that happened, Genmu showed up and he wore his little bike and he tacked them out. So we're introducing the new element of the next power-up because we see that Ex-Aid will get his next week. So cool. Overall, really good episode. Despite my little rants, they're mainly just nitpicks at some of the logic. I thought this was a really strong episode because it introduced so many more things. It introduced another writer, gave him his proper debut with unique elements. It gave us a little more backstory, and it also started to even introduce a little bit more foreshadowing, not really foreshadowing, but prepping us for the next introductions of the next level of power-ups. and sort of leading us into what next week looks to be Genmu's episode. So I thought it was great in that it covered a lot of ground at a good pace, but it didn't feel overwhelming. Just overall solid episode, 7.5 for me. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure at the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.